Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you and yours, wherever you are in the world today. It's your boy, Mr. HD, back with another video. And we got to talk about everything that happened last night. Obviously, if you don't know, Big Business, presented by AEW, was the theme of Dynamite last night. And it was all centered around the return of one Mercedes Mone, formerly known as Sasha Banks. Now, this return was very hyped, even though they didn't mention her name specifically as the one who was returning, but it was pretty evident based on all the dirt sheets and the rumors and the fact that they named the event Big Business, and it was in Boston, and there was $2 in the logo. It was obviously the debut of Sasha Banks that was about to happen, and that's exactly what we got. I'm going to give my opinion on what I thought about last night after I've had some time to sit on it. I'm going to give my opinion, but before I do that, we're going to watch a video by Pro Wrestling Bits, one of my favorite content creators. Black guy, does great content, good edits on his videos. I highly recommend you guys go check out his stuff, unless you really, really, really love AEW, because he tends to bury them a lot. I find it entertaining, but maybe you won't. But I'm just letting you guys know ahead of time what we're about to get into and the tone of this video that we're about to watch. This is from the perspective of someone who is clearly not the biggest fan of AEW or Tony Khan. And obviously, if you know me, you know that I've had my issues with Tony Khan. I literally just sent a long tweet and tagged him in it because Tony Khan apparently thinks that he has the best roster in pro wrestling, and he also believes that he should be signing more people in the near future to make his roster even stronger. We're going to get into that a little bit later. I'm going to work on another video after this about all the wrestlers that are signed to AEW, but we never get to see. So while Tony Khan is talking about signing more people, while he's not booking the people he already has, I'm sure that Mercedes Moné won't fall into that bucket of talent that we don't get to see. At least I hope. But let's get into this video by Pro Wrestling Bits. The video is called Mercedes Moné sold what Ospreay and Okada sold in her first week. If you aren't familiar, Kazuchika Okada is now in AEW. He apparently signed for $14 million over 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. He's making a crap ton of money. Ospreay, Will Ospreay, who is my favorite wrestler on planet Earth probably right now, him and Roman Reigns. Ospreay is just signed to the company. He's one of the best in the world. He's in his feud with Daniel Bryan, and it's all good things. You get 2 of the top 5 wrestlers on planet Earth, according to most people who know about wrestling outside of the U.S., obviously. So it's not a bad thing. Apparently Mercedes Moné is already a bigger deal than both of these guys, which makes sense because they're from overseas, and people generally in the United States aren't familiar with what's going on in New Japan, where these guys came from. So without further ado, let's get into this video, see what Pro Wrestling Bits is talking about.
Mercedes Moné made her AEW debut at Big Business, and she's here to give Dynamite the spark that it desperately needs. Even with AEW's botched attempt to recreate the CM Punk rollout by not announcing Mercedes Moné, Mercedes still helped move over 6,000 tickets at the TD Bank Garden despite AEW's promotional malpractice. This compared to around 3,000 tickets sold for Okada's unadvertised debut, with Will Ospreay advertised in the main event. So in other words, Mercedes by herself sold what Ospreay and Okada sold in her first week. Yes, inside the
I mean, he's not wrong. If they only sold 3,000, and they announced Ospreay, and everybody kind of knew Okada was showing up that week, and they only sold 3,000 tickets. And Mercedes, and she was in her hometown though, and she's a superstar in America, so I'm not really that surprised by that. He's making it seem like it's a huge deal, but I'm not that surprised by it.
AEW bubble, everything is fine. They just had a successful pay-per-view on the back of Sting. They just had the debuts of Okada and Ospreay, who cares? But AEW didn't tell nobody, so Dynamite bomb comes.
You can't be throwing shade at Will, man. He ain't do nothing, and Will ain't been doing nothing but killing it since he got in AEW. So I don't want to throw shade at Will. Like this ain't a Will thing. You know what I mean? Will, who cares? This dude, he hates everything AEW. It's amazing.
Coming off one of its biggest pay-per-views ever. All but half its viewership came from people watching backstage at the monitor. The Raw after Ric Flair's retirement did one of WWE's biggest TV ratings ever. For the Dynamite after Sting's retirement, Sting was nowhere to be found and neither was the lineup. But mainstream Mercedes is exactly what AEW needs. So in this video, I'm going to tell you why she's better than Will Ospreay, why she's more valuable than Okada, and why AEW now has no choice but to take full advantage of a very talented women's division, which could possibly even the odds with WWE. Mercedes Mone, the artist formerly known as Sasha Banks, made her big business debut in AEW. That means she's just one video game cover away from being called a nigger, God help her. Tony Khan is sparing no expense in free agency. Currently trying to buy his way out of a slump like the LA Dodgers since 2020, Khan is reportedly paying over $4 million per year for Okada, the AEW version of Shinsuke Nakamura.
Y'all let me know in the comments, is Okada worth $4 million a year? Because I'm just trying to see something. I feel like he's not. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm going to be wrong, but I don't think he's worth $4 million a year. We'll see. I just don't see it.
And that he's a former top New Japan star who's going to spend his winter years getting them checks in America. For the Europeans watching this, it's essentially David Beckham going to the MLS in 2007, where he was half as good as he once was, but that was still good enough to be one of the best players in the MLS, like Messi in MLS now. Meanwhile, Will Ospreay, who is already working an injury one match in, is a ticking time bomb whose body will not hold up working at the pace he is. It just won't. Mercedes hasn't had the best luck with injury either, but she has far less wear and tear, has the WWE cachet, which shouldn't matter as much in AEW, but it does to Tony Khan because he has an inferiority complex. But most importantly,
that's what it is. He has an inferiority complex. Is that what it is? It does feel like that a little bit. Like I always talk about how Tony Khan has his issues, but inferiority complex. I guess he would feel inferior to WWE, but you started 5 years ago. They've been around for 60, 70 years. I don't know why you would feel you are inferior to him. So don't know why that would cause a complex, but whatever.
Mercedes has crossover appeal.
God,
I never hear women or casuals talking about Will Ospreay. Ospreay only comes out of mouths that haven't tasted a toothbrush in weeks. But now...
Pause. First of all, no, that's not true. I brushed my teeth this morning, jackass, and I'm a massive Will Ospreay fan. As I said, he's one of my favorite wrestlers, if not my favorite wrestler in the world. So kiss my ass, pro wrestling bits.
Now that Tony Khan has signed Mercedes, she's not just another male wrestler who's going to check the same boxes and put on great matches with no storyline for a limited audience of jock-sniffing trolls. This is big business, literally, or at least it should be. Mercedes had WWE tight before she even showed up on AEW TV because I saw nothing but big business references on WWE programming. Mercedes doesn't come cheap, which means Tony Khan's big investment wasn't just an investment in Mercedes Mone, but also in his struggling women's division. One that's down so bad that Jade Cargill walked out of it, even as their biggest star. AEW's booking of its women has been so bad, they can't find time for Britt Baker. Jamie Hayter should have been back by now. And how is Willow Nightingale not the next Bayley yet? How? Why is Athena stuck in Ring of Honor? The struggle.
I've said all these things. I've literally said all these things. Maybe not the Willow thing, but I get it. She should definitely be she was one of the hottest female wrestlers in the company at one point. Everybody was singing her theme song when she came out, and then it just feels like, they leave them off TV for a couple weeks and people stop caring. Like, all right, they're not going to give her a serious storyline or a serious push. All these girls just have matches. Toni Storm and Deonna Purrazzo are the only ones with an actual story that matters. Sky Blue and her buddy are doing their heel thing. It's kind of cool, but now they're involved with Sasha. Apparently, I don't know what's going on there, but their booking of their women's division has been wretched. And I'm honestly surprised that Sasha decided to go to AEW now that Triple H is in control of WWE, based on what he did for Sasha in NXT and what he, how much he invested in her. I'm surprised she didn't go back, but as she put on her little knuckle rings, money talks. So she chased the bag, and I hope it works out for her. Last night was a good start, in my opinion. I'll get to that later.
Struggles of AEW's women is no fault of theirs. If you really take a look at the women signed to this brand, it's an embarrassment of riches when it comes to talent. Julia isn't even close to her prime, and she was pretty much able to will her way into becoming a star despite being the fourth wheel in a stable filled with established stars.
That's facts.
Toni Storm was able to do the exact same thing by going nanners as a delusional Hollywood star.
Amazing.
These women have had to take the DIY approach to superstardom for so long, but now they have a lifeline that AEW has to build around in the form of Mercedes Mone. That's the value Mercedes brings that will differentiate AEW in ways that a Stormbreaker or a Rainmaker cannot. Because motherfucker Stormbreaker, fuck a Rainmaker, fuck a Dave Rating. Let me see this bank statement, nigga. All Tony Storm needs is a foil whom fans legitimately hate. And as much as I hate to admit this, the AEW hardcore wrestling fan base hates black women. I'll bet those racist trolls in the WWE gaming comment section are just hardcore AEW fans who only play WWE video games.
That was hella racist, bro. You can't just generalize all. I mean, I don't know if it was racist. It was look biased. I don't know. You can't just group all hardcore AEW wrestling fans as racist and say they all hate black women. I just put out a tweet that was long as hell about how much I didn't enjoy her promo last. I'm black, so what are you telling me? I hate black women? It's like, what are you talking about, bro? I'm judging the wrestling programming. That's a weird take, and that's what I mean by he literally hates everything AEW, including the fans. He really hates the fans, but he's very entertaining. That's why I watch his videos.
So they can have an excuse to beat up on black women legally. Given the fact that Mercedes is an ex-WWE star making all that money in a promotion built around Great White Hopes, AEW needs to lean into making her the heel that all these nerds want her to be. Yes, there was that initial pop, and people are happy to see Mercedes early on.
She looks
but
so
I've seen
good.
Sasha Banks as a heel. I've seen Sasha make little girls cry.
Aww.
And if AEW lets her cook, its women's division will be the key to a turnaround. For AEW, women's wrestling is your friend. Which reminds me, if you love wrestling documentaries, we've partnered with the most affordable streaming service in America. Your friends and mine at Friendly TV. If you're watching this,
that was slick.
AEW needs to stop trying to be like WWE. It needs to be more like NXT in 2014. How they've already painted Dynamite like NXT 2.0, now just try to book it like NXT 1.0. When NXT really started taking off as a viable third brand, it was on the strength of women's wrestling. Paige, Emma, and the Four Horsewomen were the foundation of NXT. And these days in Stamford, you don't become one of the biggest women's stars in wrestling without earning your stripes in NXT. Bianca Belair, ask about her. Rhea Ripley, ask about her. Becky Lynch, ask about her. Tiffany Stratton hopped off the bus, went to Australia, and was the biggest star in Australia on a show with Rhea Ripley. Ask about her. Long before NXT, TNA used the women's wrestling formula to build its company around the Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong rivalry. As embattled as TNA was, and always has been, the rise of the Knockouts division was a huge part of its golden age.
Facts.
Indie male darlings out of their primes is not going to help AEW, no way. Though they will be featured in our March Mayonnaise tournament, voting's underway right now, but it won't grow their audience, it won't appeal to women or families, it's diminishing marginal returns that'll only serve to recycle the same Meltzerian praise from the message board crowd that only moves the needle when they throw a syringe in the trash. Big business is only something AEW can do with its women right now. All of its top guys were emasculated by CM Punk. That's just facts. Talk about a midlife crisis. Look no further than the Young Bucks, who are essentially trying to capitalize on their heat as evil EVPs past the expiration date now that Phil is gone. Even if AEW wanted to build around its male talent, they literally don't have any pillars to stand on. Sammy Guevara got suspended again. Darby Allin is headed to Mount Everest with glass shards in his back like a stuntman in stockings. Jack Perry is in the wilderness of New Japan Pro Wrestling and hasn't been on AEW TV in months. And MJF got injured trying to be the workhorse that Will Ospreay already got injured being. Pillars! If AEW tried to sell a Pillars t-shirt right now, it would look like the plain white tees that Bryan Danielson wears. AEW needs to double down on women's wrestling. Build collision around Mercedes Mone, Toni Storm, a returning Britt Baker, a returning Jamie Hayter, and the untapped...
No. Don't, damn, first of all, ass cheeks. And second of all, no. Don't put her on Collision. I don't want to watch wrestling on Saturday night. I was going to do it because of CM Punk, but come on, I don't want to have to. Please put Mercedes on Dynamite. Just leave her on Dynamite. Can we have separate rosters and you could put the B team on Collision? Because this is too much. I can't do it.
Potential in the women's division that still has so much room for growth. Does AEW want to be known as a makeshift ECW, a Caucasian New Japan Pro Wrestling, or a forward-thinking national pro wrestling promotion that could differentiate itself?
No, they want to be known as WCW of 2024. Have you not been watching?
By leaning in on women's wrestling. Happy Women's History Month or whatever. Check out this video on what the heck happened.
All right. That I told you how he hated AEW. But he made some good points, man. He made some good points as far as AEW and their booking of the women's division and how Sasha Banks could change all that because, as he said, now they have a foil. Hopefully she eventually turns heel because she's so much better as a heel. But, you know, they have a foil that they can go up against. I'm looking forward to seeing crazy Toni Storm versus Sasha Banks and Serena Deeb versus Sasha Banks and all these women. I really want to see Athena and Sasha go at it at some point, but Athena is stuck in Ring of Honor, Ring of Horrors, as he put it. So I don't know, but I'm going to give my take on what I saw last night. Now she did debut last night. I have a bunch of problems with the debut. Number one, the number one problem I have with the debut is it was very, very predictable. And this isn't something I'm just saying. If you were here watching the show last night with us, we were live on stream. We had a great group of people in here. The chat was on fire last night when we were watching. And I literally predicted everything she was going to do. I mean, down to the Eddie Guerrero mention. So I was like, I was praying that she didn't do it, but I knew that there was a chance that she could. She came out and she really didn't say anything. She really didn't start any feuds specifically. Now, she did mention Willow Nightingale's name, who is the one who put her out. But her and Willow are all buddy buddy because right now, technically, they're both baby faces. So we have some unfinished business, Willow. Oh, give me a hug, girl. That's not what I want to see. That's not what I want to see. I would have rather Willow been out there having a match and Sasha came out and jumped her or attacked her or something. And that's how we start her run at AEW. There could have been a lot of different things. I was hoping that she interrupted somebody or somebody interrupted her promo. That is not what happened. She came out, she soaked up all the adulation from the hometown crowd, and it was a big moment, but there were so many flaws in the moment that I just couldn't get into it, man. From the very beginning. The theme music. Let's start there. First of all, Gunther and Triple H have already pointed out, and so many other people on Twitter, that she's using the same song. Now, I'm not sure what Beethoven song it is because I don't listen to classical music, at least not on purpose. But, it's apparently the same song that Gunther is using, except for not nearly as good. Let's be real, Gunther's theme song slaps. That joint bangs. It barely even sounds like classical music. It's ha 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 ha. It sounds epic. Sasha's song don't sound epic. Now, y'all have heard me mention AEW sound system a million times on this channel. It is trash. You hear no bass in any theme song. I don't care whose theme song it is. You don't hear no bass in nothing. It's literally all treble. All the theme songs sound hollow as hell. Like if it wasn't for Jericho having the crowd sing his song, it wouldn't sound as good. Like everybody's theme song in AEW is garbage. Unless Moxley is doing Wild Thing and the crowd is singing along or something like that. But outside of that, the theme songs all sound like garbage because the sound system and the sound setup and the acoustics and whatever buildings there, I don't know, it's because there's only 2,000 people in them up, but it be sounding dry as hell. And her theme song, I could barely hear it. The crowd was chanting, and I missed the CEO chant at first. I thought the crowd started that. And I was like, why is the crowd chanting CEO? Then I saw her hair and her jacket. I was like, okay, but apparently I went back and listened to it, and it's on the track. It's literally on the track. The first thing you hear, CEO, CEO. I'm like, first of all, that doesn't fit the classical track, and it's desperate as fuck. Why do you want people chanting a chant that's on the track? It just seems desperate. Like if you already got CEO on your hair, on your jacket, on your fingers, you got like why don't they? I mean, you already gonna come out and say I'm the CEO like of A. Like just say it, and then they'll start chanting it. Like you don't have to. Maybe they want to chant Mercedes like CEO. It's just, but you're not the CEO you're not the chief executive officer of AEW. We all know that. So I don't. I guess money talks, big business, CEO, it all intertwines. I get it, but it's stupid. My personal opinion. So the music, I hate it. The hair. Let's talk about it. First of all, her outfit was fire. The white and gold, the glasses, the drip was amazing. The hair, she could have left that. Now she came out a couple months ago. She had the turquoise and the cheetah print. That was fire. But yesterday, it was like she had Brock Lesnar's shorts on her hair. I remember how Brock Lesnar started coming out once he was done with the UFC. He came out and he had all these advertisements on his shorts. it's like it's like that's what her hair looked like. She had CEO, all elite CEO, spray painted on her wig in her hair. I think it's a wig. I assume it's a wig. But yeah, she had it spray painted in her hair. I'm like, why you have words spray painted in your hair? It looks stupid. You know what I mean? Then she has CEO on the back of her jacket. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, but I don't like the moniker CEO. I just don't. I just don't. Maybe I'm digging too deep into it, maybe I'll get used to it. Just like I got used to the Gunther name when they first announced that. I hated that in WWE. But sometimes you hear things that doesn't catch you off the rip, but then you get used to it after a while. Maybe that'll be the case here. But wasn't a fan of the hair, the theme music, the CEO moniker, and then lastly the promo that she cut. The words to the promo, she came out and thanked everybody. I just want to say thank you guys for being with me on this journey. Like, she's already come back from an injury before. We've heard all this. That's why it was so easy to predict. I was like, she's going to come out here, she's going to say all these things, and she's going to talk about, how much wrestling means to her and how Eddie Guerrero inspired her and blah, blah. I said all these things literally before she said them. You know what I mean? Before she was even on a TV screen. And then she literally said all that shit. And I was just like, come on, man. Give me something. Give me something. They tried to fix it a little bit towards the end, but there was also some issues with that. Fewer issues towards the end than there was at the beginning, but I still had some issues with that. So her promo just fell super flat for me. When she mentioned Eddie Guerrero, I was just like, bruh. Come on, it's like the Mick Foley and we're in Boston. Like, all right, the cheap pop, we get it. Everybody's gonna cheer Eddie Guerrero, and you're never gonna get any boos for that. So we get it. You know what I mean? But you didn't need to do the cheap pop because you're in your hometown. I don't know, man. It just fell flat for me because it was very predictable. And she didn't start no beef with nobody. She mentioned a bunch of wrestlers, and she even did the whole the mid Carter thing where WWE will have the mid Carters backstage sometimes by the merch table and different things like that, and they're just promoting the matches that are gonna be on the show later that night. Like sometimes it'll be the New Day or Street Profits or whoever they have do it. And it's just like, yeah, that's a jobber's job. You know what I mean? And they had her in the ring talking about tonight in the main event, we got Willow and Rio. Like, first of all, why is Rio and Willow the main event of I'm all for women's wrestling, but you make it make sense. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. And that did it. So, it was what it was, man. The promo fell flat for me. We got to it at to some physicality towards the end when Willow and Rio were having their match. Rio took the L to Willow Nightingale, as she should have, because she's 5 times her size. It was a decent match. They only got like 8 minutes with a commercial break, like for the main event. Super disrespectful, but whatever. You know what I mean? And after that, Sky Blue and her evil twin came out and tried to attack Willow and Rio and beat them down. And then Sasha came out and made the save and hit her terrible finishing move. I don't know what it's called. I honestly don't care because it's just a gory bomb and it doesn't look like it causes any pain. And at the end of the day, she could never execute that move without the help of the other person. I know that's the case with most finishing moves, but this one just seems extra stupid because if the woman she's putting the move on doesn't lift her legs and wrap them around her waist, she's not going to be able to execute the move. You know what I mean? The person is not going to have any leverage to be able to be slammed on the ground. All you have to do to stop her finisher is keep your feet on the ground. Literally. Just don't raise your legs. Just stay on your feet. She can't. She's 5'3" or whatever. She can't lift you up, you know what I mean, off the ground. Like maybe she could to Rio. That might be the only person she could execute that move on without help. But the move don't hit for me is not impactful. It's too weird to set up. You know what I mean? She like does the double underhook with him on her back and then flips him over to one side. It's just, it doesn't hit for me. You know what I mean? How's she gonna do that move to Willow Nightingale? How's she gonna do that move to Chris Statlander, who's way taller than she is? It's gonna look so awkward. You get a wrestler that is 6, 8 inches taller than her. That's a stretch, you know what I mean, dealing with the females. But you get a wrestler that is 4 or 5 inches taller than her, like a Chris Statlander or somebody like that, and she tries to do that double under. Chris ain't gonna be able to get her legs up high enough. And what all it's gonna take is somebody body weight to shift toward the wrong way, and then they just falling down, and then you got an embarrassing botch. I'm just thinking of all the ways it could go wrong, and I don't want a finishing move that can go wrong in so many different ways, or a finishing move that I can't use on everybody. You know what I mean? That's always been one of my things. The best finishing moves are the ones that anybody can take. That's why the Stone Cold Stunner and Sweet Chin Music and these moves are legendary because those wrestlers could do them to anybody. The DDT, like all these moves are legendary because anybody could get it. So I guess that was my last issue with it, outside of her sitting in the ring dancing, but she's sexy as hell. I'm never going to complain about her standing in the middle of the ring dancing and, gyrating her hips. You know what I mean? Sasha Banks is a beautiful woman. So, not going to complain about that. But, as I just stated, I did have a lot of issues with the debut last night. I'm looking forward to next week, though. Next week, something got to happen. Something got to give next week to where they actually start this feud with Julia Hart or Sky Blue or whoever they're going to have her in a feud with. If she's going to be babyface, she's going to find a good heel to go up against. I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? I'm all about that. You know what I mean? If she's gonna be babyface for the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months or whatever. But we seen the best version of Sasha, and it's her as a heel. When she's a bad guy being dastardly, she's so good at it. Her gimmick is a heel gimmick, especially in a time where inflation and there's a blooming recession and depression that could possibly hit this country. And we're going through all these issues. Regular Americans, like she coming out, money talks, and I'm all about the money, and look at me. Like, come on, man. That's a hill gimmick. I'm sorry. People are struggling. You flaunting your money and how much cash you got. Like it's a hill gimmick. You know what I mean? So I don't understand how this is gonna be babyface for that long because, all it takes is for somebody to call her out on that. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's struggling out here and you flaunting your money and how great, I don't know. She did hit him with the if I can do it, you could do it too line in her corny ass promo. That was the capper of the promo. If I can do it, you can do it too. I was like, oh, this is cheesy. Good Lord. Like, who wrote this? But, Sasha is one of the GOATs in professional wrestling history when it comes to the women or just period. She's one of the best female wrestlers I've ever seen. She's put on a couple of the greatest matches that I've ever watched. Like Takeover New York with her and Bailey is still one of my favorite matches ever. Her and Charlotte had a ridiculous match in Hell in a Cell that I will always remember. It's one of my favorite matches. So got to give Sasha her props and, her credit for what she's done and how she stood up for herself and she got to the bag. She was playing the companies against each other. Apparently WWE offers her some money. She was like, that ain't enough. So she went over to the AEW. Personally, I think that's a terrible decision because she talking about taking the movement global. I'm like, so did you not just see them? I mean, they're Puerto Rico and Australia and against some people's better judgment, Saudi Arabia, like they're literally global. It's a global company. Like everyone in the world knows WWE. It's the most followed YouTube channel in the world. It's like what? What do you think you about to do joining AEW? You think talking about you, but y'all about to do Wembley. That's what you get. That is not global. That's taking a trip. That's a vacation. That's not you taking the revolution global. And a lot of that is not going to be on Mercedes. It's going to be on Tony Khan. If he doesn't book these women right, then it doesn't even matter. So that's my take on it. I'm looking forward to next week and the coming weeks, and how they build to the next pay-per-view Dynasty. I'm assuming she's going to be on it. That's where we're going to get Will Ospreay and Daniel Bryan, which should be a fire classic match. I can't wait for that match. But Mercedes will probably have a fire match on there too. I wouldn't be surprised if she was the main event of that night. But we'll see how it works out, man. I just wanted to give my thoughts on what happened last night. If you watched the watch along last night, you saw me I was stressed out watching this. I was like, man, this is bad. This is terrible. I'm not enjoying any of this. And that just was what it was, man. I ain't gonna sit up here and pretend like I'm enjoying something when I'm not. You know what I mean? And I sat on it for a night, like, am I tripping? Then I went back and watched the promo again, and I'm like, nah, this is whack. I cringed even harder watching it the second time. Like just with, just going back, I'm like, she really did say that. And it was just bad, man. It was bad. So that's just my thoughts, man. I appreciate you guys watching. If you don't agree, that's perfectly fine. You can let me know in the comments and troll me and, tell me I'm stupid and all that stuff in the comments. I won't care. But it's just my opinion, man. I'm a big fan of Sasha Banks. I don't want it to come off like I'm not. She's, one of my favorite wrestlers. She deserves all the, love and credit that she's getting. I'm very glad that Naomi got rehired in WWE before she debuted, because she would look crazy if she left Naomi, over there in Impact while she got the massive bag going to, AEW, and Naomi left because of her, basically. So I'm glad Naomi is back doing her thing and back where she belongs in the East. So that's it for this video. I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's a long one, so make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if this is your first time watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one, man. Peace.